Hello, this is Tyre Seeker. My name's Steve Sutcliffe, and this should be another cracking comparison test about ultra high performance tyres.
We've got 6 premium brand ultra high performance tyres to test here and 1 BMW 330 M Sport to test them on, plus 2 brilliant handling tracks, one wet, the other dry. We bought all our tyres from an independent retailer for this test to ensure total neutrality, and the size is a nice and universal 225 45 18. In alphabetical order, our tyres are the Bridgestone Potenza Sport, Continental's PremiumContact 6, Dunlop's SP Sport Maxx RT2, Goodyear's Eagle F1 Supersport, Michelin's Pilot Sport 5, and of course Pirelli's ubiquitous P-Zero. We took all the usual data into account for elements such as dry and wet braking, aquaplaning, cornering, noise, you name it. But look, the main focus for this test, as with all our tests, was on real-world feel and durability, not raw data. Although for sure we recorded lap times on all our tyres on both tracks. Right then, wet handling track first, and with the Bridgestone Potenza Sport fitted, followed by the others.
Wow, you really don't need to do more than a couple of corners with the Potenza Sport on. It's 3 Series around this wet track to realise that it is a pretty tidy tyre in the wet. I mean, I can throw this car around. Blimey, this tyre has got some grip in these conditions. Mega traction on the way out of every corner. And then through this chicane here, it's just so stable in this direction change. Quite amazing. And then up here under brakes, I can just brake later and harder and just stop faster in less distance. Lovely feel too through the steering. I can actually lean on it harder than I thought. It's ultimately what it's all about, being able to lean on something thinking it's not going to do a nasty thing to me. In fact, it's just going to do its absolute utmost to look after me around this track.
Right, same again, but this time with the Continental fitted.
Okay, I have to be honest, I was expecting quite a bit more from the Continental on this car, on this track. Basically, there is just not as much grip. I mean, the lap time is seriously different. It's between 3 and 4 seconds because I just cannot put this car where I want to. It's pretty good under brakes, I'll give it that. But the traction is really not great at all. Cannot get on the throttle anywhere near as soon as I could on the Bridgestones. Direction changes, it's really struggling with that. And then the steady state cornering, it totally struggles with that too, compared with the other really, really good tyres. I've got to admit, that's slightly disappointing from the Continental in this test. Let's see what it's like on the dry track. Before that though, here's a little word about our sponsor. At etyres.co.uk, they sell tyres. Lots and lots of tyres. They don't care who wins our group tests though, because they sell all kinds of tyres, but they do sell them at the best prices you'll find anywhere on the internet. So do yourself a favour if you fancy buying any of the tyres we feature in this test. Click on etyres.co.uk because you won't find better prices anywhere else on the internet. Right, back to the comparison test. Nice tyre, the Goodyear. Really nice and predictable, great through those direction changes. Nice and stable under brakes. There are sort of 3 key areas around this track where you want a tyre to be right on your side. It's under brakes, it's in the direction changes, and then it's the long sweeping corners. You want mid-corner grip, you want exit grip. And I have to say the Goodyear has got the lot. It doesn't sort of score 10 out of 10 in every box, but overall, I quite like that. You just know absolutely where you are with this tyre.
Dunlop's next. How would the Sport Maxes behave on the wet track?
Nice tyre, the Dunlop. Nice and predictable, good traction. Good but not amazing grip, steady state. It gives up its grip in a nice predictable way. Very gradually, which is quite nice. So even though there isn't the same ultimate amount of grip as there is from the best tyres, I like the nature of the Dunlop. it's just friendly and cuddly, if not absolutely that quick. It's good under brakes. It's good in the direction change through the chicanes. Good tyre on the wet track, but not a great one.
Okay, let's try the same thing, but on the Michelins.
As you can probably tell from the grin on my face, the Michelin is really good. It's got so much grip, this tyre. Through this right-hander, I'm so much more committed than on the Goodyears or the Contis, but not than the Bridgestones. The Bridgestones, I can actually lap this track just a few tenths quicker than I can on the Michelin. The Michelin feels like a really stonking good tyre though. I'm doing 100 nearly into this chicane, and then through this direction change, it's just brilliant. The car suddenly feels like it's 200 kilograms lighter than it does on the lesser good tyres. There's just grip. There is just grip everywhere. Under brakes, mid-corner, with traction, under acceleration, during turning. It's just a beltingly good tyre, the PS5. First time I've driven a car on it. Super impressed in the wet.
Same again then, but this time on the Pirellis.
I wasn't actually sure quite how good the Pirelli was going to be on the wet track relative to the Potenza Sport and relative to the new Michelin PS5, but actually it's right up there. It's really good. Lap time wise, it's split them straight down the middle, and that's exactly how it feels subjectively. It's lovely through the fast direction change through this chicane. It's really good under brakes. It feels like a sporting tyre. It's got sporting responses. Lovely turning bite and precision. As I say, really good under brakes. Great in the steady state cornering, which means it's nice and secure, and it's got really good traction as well. It's astonishing the difference between the top tyres in this group and the bottom ones. I think the Pirelli's going to be really good on the dry track too, but we will find out in a bit.
In the data tests, the results, as ever, were much closer from one tyre to the next. And although they're all valid, we don't reckon they tell you anything like as much about a tyre's realistic qualities as a decent session around a track. Because here, the results were crystal clear. The Bridgestone was the fastest and just plain best tyre around the wet track, followed closely by the Pirelli and then the Michelin. The Goodyear, Dunlop and Continental all struggling to keep up. So having noted the numbers they generated under brakes and through a wet slalom, and working out that the Bridgestone, Pirelli and Michelin were very much the top three, we went to the dry handling track and did the same thing again, starting once more with the Bridgestone.
It's amazing what happens when you just put 4 different tyres on a car. I've just gone from the original equipment Pirellis. We've put a set of Potenza Sports on. It's a nice engine and gearbox and it's a nice chassis full stop, but these tyres have absolutely ignited this car. They've got real bite just where you want them to. They don't allow the car to kind of squidge around the place at all. Really nice, secure, stable, but a lovely snap under brakes as well. And the body control in the quicker corners is mad. It literally feels like a different car. And it's miles quicker on these tyres than it was on the original equipment Pirellis. We'll try on a set of P-Zeros in a minute, but wow, I can't say positive enough words about the Potenza Sport on this car, on this track.
So then I switched to the Continentals.
And the Continental has not done that well on the dry track. It really didn't do very well on the wet track. It's better on the dry track than it was on the wet track. The lap time is still within a second of the Bridgestone. It's only a few tenths shy of the Bridgestone, and as we'll find out, the best of the other tyres. But on the Conti, there is definitely more body movement, and it just sort of wants to kind of fall up. This car wants to fall over itself a little bit at the back. The traction is not as good. The direction change, stability is definitely not as sharp or crisp as the Bridgestone. It just feels a little bit, not at sea, but just not as sharp, not as crisp.
Right, let's swap to the Goodyears.
So the Goodyear feels really good on this car. And it's really not far off the Bridgestone at all. It feels a lot tidier and sharper and keener in its responses than the Continental, which you'd expect because it's a full-blown sport. Lovely tyre, really nice tyre. Makes this car feel alive, taut, perky, fast. Loads of outright grip through the fast corners. I don't think it's just as nice as the Bridgestone under brakes. I don't think it's just as sharp on turning, but fundamentally, dead good tyre this Goodyear, really is.
Same track, same searing heat, but this time on the Dunlops.
So what do we think of the Dunlop Sport Maxx? I quite like it actually. It's got no nasty surprises up its sleeve. Is it as good as the Bridgestone? No, I don't think so. It's not as crisp. This car feels about sort of 50 kilograms heavier now that we've put the Dunlops on after the Bridgestones. It just needs a little sort of half second longer to gather itself when you kind of pitch it into a fast corner like this. The rear end just starts to fall over itself a little bit. It's better than the Continentals, not as good as the Bridgestones, and not as good as the Goodyears either, I don't think.
So then it was time to try the Michelins on the dry track.
Right, the PS5, it's very nice, I have to admit. It's got all those qualities that you associate with Michelin sporting tyres. You know, you can feel that the body control is right there, and in some ways, particularly mid-corner when you've got the car really loaded up and the tyres having to work really hard, I'm not sure it feels just as sweet as the Bridgestone, but it stops really well. The body control is excellent. The way it controls the body in direction changes is very good indeed, and it's good under brakes too. It's a top tyre is the new PS5, but I'm not sure it's the best of the lot.
Right then, how would the Pirellis be on the dry track?
Frankly, it's ever so slightly in a class of one is the P-Zero around here. Much sharper and better, and basically also quicker against the stopwatch. It's only 3 or 4 tenths, but this is a short lap. The gap between the Pirelli and the next quickest tyre is bigger than the gap between the slowest tyre and the second quickest tyre, if you get what I mean. And subjectively, that's exactly how it feels, because I can place this car more accurately everywhere around the lap on the P-Zero. The next best is definitely the Bridgestone. And given how much better the Bridgestone was than the Pirelli on the wet track, like massively, the Bridgestone wins.
So much as we found on the wet track, the Bridgestone was excellent in both feel and lap time around the dry track. But here, the Pirelli P-Zero was the quickest of all, with the Potenza Sport second, the Michelin PS5 third, the Dunlop Sport Maxx and Goodyear F1 joint fourth, the less well specified Continental once again sixth. So in the end, we had a clear and obvious winner in the form of the excellent Bridgestone Potenza Sport. Second was the almost as brilliant Pirelli P-Zero, followed closely by the superb new Michelin Pilot Sport 5, with the Goodyear and Dunlop showing well in fourth and fifth, and the Continental a still respectable sixth, given its less obviously sporting tread compound and design.
Cheers for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this comparison test. And remember, do check out etyres.co.uk, because you won't find better prices for tyres anywhere on the internet. Stay safe, and see you next time.